Hey Capricorn, welcome to December 2019. This month, we're just fucking chilling. It's the end of the year, end of 2019. It's been a doozy. And let's keep it simple. Let's just keep it light. I'm using this Hanson Roberts Tarot deck. It's a small little baby deck that I got at Barnes & Noble for $8. It's my travel deck. I'm becoming a traveling tarot reader in 2020. You can also book a reading with me on the internet. And we can talk about your personal story, what's going on with you specifically, find ways to navigate your story, kind of look at it from that lens. So let me know. Right off the bat, we got Ace of Swords for you. Beautiful. I got a little bit of Judgment. Got Nine of Swords in reverse. And I got the Four of Swords. Oh, look at, oh my god, the Four of Swords. What did I say about just fucking chilling and resting? Ugh, and meditating. Maybe. I've not been good at meditating. I'm not going to pretend that I have been. I just kind of want to see if there's any other... Okay. A little bit too much, but I'll take it. Okay, we got Three of Pentacles. I'll kind of make this two halves of a reading. So, the World, Page of Rods in reverse, and the Moon. First part of your reading. You've been through so much fucking shit. Holy good God, Lord. Judgment and Nine of Swords reverse. I mean, I think there was so much anxiety this year. This feels like past energy. It feels like you're kind of letting go of some of the bullshit that you dealt with. You really don't need to hang on to the past anymore. And I think that I'm going to tell all the signs this, I'm sure, but we're in December 2019, getting ready for a whole new chapter, a whole new decade, and I think the impulse is to, like, go back and be like, okay, in 2010 I did this, in 2011 I did this, in 2012 I did this, blah, blah, blah. Like, what was the story of the decade? But with the Nine of Swords in reverse and Judgment, I feel like what's really important is that your process this month in December is just about not taking that with you anymore. Like, I had this whole conversation today about trauma and how trauma can be, and maybe trauma is or isn't your experience, but, like, it's such an intense experience that it can often start to define us. That's Bruno back there, who's, I don't know if you can see him. Brinzy. Okay, well, kinda. Hi. Whew. With trauma, no. Okay. See, I mean, like, a dog comes and you just pet it. That's the vibe for December. Pet him, sorry. With trauma, it can kind of, like, define us even when we don't want it to define us. Not because we're identifying with it, but because the healing process is so complicated and we live in a culture that is constantly trying to re-traumatize us. So it's easy for us to hang on to this Nine of Swords energy and for it to kind of dominate our existence. But with Judgment, I think it's kind of like, I mean, that was in reverse, so it's definitely about letting that trauma go, but also with Judgment, I feel like it's kind of moving past it, but moving past it in a way where you just kind of realize you're bigger than it. I always refer to Buffy, I refer to season 7 Buffy. She's like, they're waiting for us to be scared, but, like, the only thing scarier than evil is us. And she says, like, the mouth of hell is opening and it's gonna choke on me or something. It's kind of like like, the best example I can give for you, Capricorn, is, like, for all the times, let's say you've been triggered by trauma, then you have a reaction. You're reactive. There's, like, literally a thing called reactive abuse, where if you're in an abusive situation and you're triggered, I hate that word, but I don't know what else to use at the moment. So when you're in that abusive situation, you can react to it and, like, start to mirror the abusive person's energy back to them, or they can gaslight you, they'll project, and then they'll make all that shit. So it's, like, not only are you dealing with trauma, but then, like, you're being re-traumatized, and then people are, like, making you into, like, a shitty person, and it just becomes this, like, heavy pile of, like, burdens. So with judgment, I just feel like you're being freed of that, but you're not being freed in the sense of, like, we're not going to erase the past. I don't think you're going to be able to forget the past, but I think in December, maybe you're being given the opportunity to reframe the past. To understand, like, I didn't do anything wrong. That wasn't my fault. I was a fucking badass when I stood up for myself, even when people didn't understand me. I am stronger now. It shouldn't be the case. Like, I shouldn't have to go through, like, literal hell to, like, become strong, but I am strong. And I'm going into 2020, and I'm going to heaven. Judgment. You're going to heaven. Because we got the world coming up for you, too. So it's like, I think you're just kind of being released from hell. And you don't have to take hell with you. I mean, hell will probably always be part of you if you have been a person who experienced trauma, but it just doesn't need to, like, be your environment. It doesn't need to be where you feel stuck. It doesn't need to be how you define yourself. You can be bigger than it. It can be a piece of you. It doesn't have to be the whole. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Just meditation, straight up chilling, straight up, like, just not giving a fuck about anything, not doing anything, maybe literally doing nothing, taking a vacay, mini vacay, whatever you can afford, like staycay. Staycations are fun. I've done them. They're beautiful. Just really, I mean, what else is there to say? Because I think that's also how you're kind of getting a sense of, like, the truth. This is also part of that judgment moment. Just you're finding the inner truth. You're finding you're just able to, I think, see clearly this past decade without having necessarily to, like, write about it or meme it or something. It's just like that you can go back and you can see, like, wow, I'm fucking amazing. I'm a badass. And I'm just not, it doesn't have power over me anymore. Like, okay, for example, without being too specific, there was a person, and I'm just sharing my personal anecdotes because I think maybe it helps connect to the reading and make it more real. There was a person in my immediate sphere who had a lot of power over me. And then, like, I put them up on a pedestal. I thought that they were the only person who got me. I thought that they were, like, I just gave them a lot of power. And then there was hurt, there was bullshit, but then I saw them again and I was like, oh, you're just a human. Like, he wasn't scary and I wasn't mad. It was just pretty neutral. It was like the power that I had given him was mine again. It was like, oh, that's my power. I'll take that back. Thanks. I'm not mad at you. I just don't know why I gave you all that power, because it wasn't yours and I shouldn't have given it to you, so now it's mine again. That's sort of the vibe of the Ace of Swords. Just like, oh, I've been living under a little bit of a delusion, or kind of criticizing myself when other people should be a little bit better. That type of thing. Just seeing where we've been self-harming mentally or emotionally, unconsciously. So 3 of Pentacles. So that was, like, kind of the first part of the reading. This next part of the reading, I feel like, is kind of about what we're moving into in 2020. I think that there is definitely a lot of uncertainty, but there's also a lot of great potential. I think the moon card kind of gets a rap for being about, like, confusion and, like, shit, but I also personally find the moon to be really healing. Like, you can't stare at the sun, but you sure as hell can stare at the moon. I think the moon is the light in the dark. And the dark is scary, right? Like, we don't really want to be there, but I think that the moon, especially, I'm a Cancer, so, and Capricorn's my moon. So I just feel like the moon, it's like, the moon energy of moving into 2020, it's like, don't be afraid of the unknown. The unknown is actually this really beautiful, fucking amazing opportunity to have your life be better than you could have possibly imagined. I think the more in 2020 that you can take steps into the unknown and kind of let yourself go take those calculated risks, that it's going to really just open things up so that you are on top of the world and that you are just, like, living your best life, and you are, and I mean, we got Page of Wands, a little bit of, like, creative, like, new beginnings energy. I do feel like that's just maybe some kind of, like, fear that's coming up. Oh, wait, sorry. Fear that might surround kind of taking these risks, just because, I mean, you know, it's founded. We don't want to go back to this place. So the examples I can give to kind of, like, make that energy more specific is, like, taking a risk on entering a new relationship when you've been single for a long time, or quitting a job you hate and taking a risk on becoming an artist full time. That kind of thing. It's like a little, there's, like, hesitation, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable or that there isn't a path. And the Three of Pentacles, I think that's just really about allowing yourself to rely on community, to rely on the help of others as you kind of are in this new beginning of kind of, like, recreating your world and shifting a little bit. It's like you're allowed to have help. You're allowed to, like, employ people. You're allowed to get kind of some assistance in the path that you're embarking on. So I think that makes sense, Capricorn. If you'd like more, again, I do offer personal readings. I'm keeping them short and sweet this month just because I feel like December should really kind of not be about too much about it, with the Four of Swords, right? Like, we don't need to figure out too much. It's kind of just about, like, chill, rest, letting it happen. And so we don't need to overthink it. We can just let it happen. Alright, well, I love you, Capricorn, and I think I will see you in 2020. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been wild. So we'll see. I love you. Bye.